And I'm going to turn down the resolution to about half so that it actually does a faster RAM preview, because when it's really cranked up it starts to take a lot longer because it's trying to hold a full screen resolution. And you could see how, like, oh, if I drop this down to half or maybe even a third or quarter, it starts to lose its integrity, but I could start to hold much more in my RAM buffer. And I'll ignore this little green spot because I have to adjust the levels, but I just wanted to jump into something so you guys could see it. So the lower the resolution, the more we're going to see flickering on the edges and stuff, because we're not showing all of those details. But what you'll notice is that if I did crank it up, I've gotten pretty close to the edge. I'd still do a little bit more cleanup. And of course I would adjust that video that I have. I'm in my final comp. And I would add whatever effect I need to make it match more with the background. So something like a image color correction of let's see, let's do a search. Come on. Hue and saturation. And if I have it selected, I could either just drag it straight onto that or put it on there. Let's back up a little bit. Or I could go under Effect, Color Correction, and then see it inside of here, Hue and Saturation. And then within here, I can make my adjustments of kind of tinting it a little bit, adjust the saturation, making it hotter or less, add more contrast if needed. Colorizing it will basically kind of strip the color and just put it in place of whatever color I'm putting on top. If I don't like that, let's just delete that one out, then that's where I could go in under Effect, Color Correction, and then I could go into something, once again, like my curves, and then adjust individual channels like the red channel, see, to make it match more with that background. So that it's a little more seamless to the background. And then I could also add, and this is on I have my mask, my key composition, but underneath it is the movie file that I'm tweaking to match whatever background I have. So this is not in the key composition, this is in the final composition. And now I can just go in and adjust my levels as well to start to match it a little bit more with what I wanted. And much just like the curves, I can choose specific channels to adjust. See that? To kind of make it match a little bit more. Okay. I'm just going to do a very quick, so you can see how to do the lightning and track things, which is kind of neat. So, see if I can remember this all well. So right here, it's like clap the hands, pull it out, and then I want the lightning to appear and form between the two hands, right? Pop, pulls out. Yeah. So let me make a null object. Put that on top. And then the null object, if I zoom in, is going to attach itself to whatever finger that I want to kind of be the tracking point, right, for the lightning. And you want to have something like a finger, or if the character has a mark on their hand or whatever it is that's tracking, the more contrast there is, the better. So I might actually have to go in, let me boost up the res just a little bit, because you see, as I increase the resolution, we'll see more detail. And I did a very quick job on here, and we have to see the motion blur happening. So let me just pick a finger that is going to work for what we want to do. So if I choose that thumb, and then I'll call this one the null. Right click, rename it, call it right, it's not tight, right track, and I'm going to duplicate it and call this one left track. And then this duplicate will be on the other thumb. Okay. All right. So let's try the right tracker first. Let's see. I'm just trying to line these guys up a little bit. Remember, the null objects are just these guys that essentially they don't really they're like empty groups, right? So I can use them, parent things to them, I can attach things to them, but it doesn't really do anything. It's just literally a an empty group that I can mess around with and do stuff with, but it's not really anything except an empty group that I can decide what do I want to do with this. What do I want to actually adjust, or let me see. Oops. Getting my shortcuts messed up. Hold on. Move 1 second. Transform right track. There we go. hold on. Give me 1 second because I'm... Okay, that's what it was. So I created a solid. And on this solid, I have to add my effect first. That's why I was jumping the gun and then I was going to create it, but it's actually the reverse. So if I actually go to generate advanced lightning and attach it to that solid. So I have to create the effect first before I can track it. So this is a lightning effect that you have. If you look at it, there's 2 points by default. One is its starting point. Do you see this? And one is where it's targeting for. But you'll notice it's actually coming out in a stream from that focal point. So if I go, and that's because if we look at this under lighting type, it's set to direction. So basically most lightning goes out in a direction, right? But you see I have a lot of these different types: strike, breaking, bouncy, omni, anywhere. And anywhere, if we kind of go through, you see it's like, it literally, this is how I would do if he has power going across him. You see that? And it has a radius and setup. That's the anywhere setting. The omni setting is it's coming like in a circle, coming from there. So that's the center. This is more of that effect of when you see the electrical globe, you know, where lightning's kind of going around, bouncing around in the center. What we want is a two-way strike. And what this does is it gives me that Tesla kind of effect of lightning between 2 rods hitting. See? And you see how as it animates, we could do some really cool stuff. But what you'll notice, let me put it over my face for a second, it's really blanking out the face. And that's because we have to do a couple of things to make it work better. So first, I created the solid, just layer, new solid, and I applied the advanced lightning effect to it. And that's above my key composition. Okay, so I've got that. And under mode, I want to change it from normal to add. And do you see how now it looks like it's illuminating and you can see through it more? Okay. So that's giving me more of the effect that I want, because it shouldn't like cover whatever it's on top of. You should be able to see through it. Normal, you see it blanks it out. But with an add, it's adding on top. And you see it's even like giving this super highlight to whatever is beneath it. Okay. Now, before I go nuts with it, let's just look at a few of the settings real quick. So, the origin and the direction. The origin is that one on the left. The direction is the one on the right. Those are the ones we're ultimately going to parent to the trackers, so that they're following as the hands are moving around. Conductivity state. That'll make a little more sense in a second, but essentially it's adjusting how the electricity is going. All these with a little stopwatch can be keyed. Okay. So if I go in turbulence, how much? Look at that. The more turbulence, the crazier it is. Whereas if I go all the way to a 0 in turbulence, it's this. It's just a lightsaber, basically. Or a laser beam. Comes out. So it's the turbulence that's actually adding that that forking lightning that you're actually seeing. And speaking of the forking, which is right here, you can see as I turn it down. So what happens is you have the bolts that are the actual core of the lightning, and then you have these little spans that come off of it, right? So as I increase that, that's a lot of plasma firing off. The more I increase it, the more forks of lightning there are coming off of it. The less it is, you have the primary beams of plasma that are going back and forth. And then their decay is how they're actually coming off of those main cores. We can adjust the core setting, like the radius of it, how thick they are, you see that? As well as the core opacity. And the color of the core itself, depending on what sort of an effect you're going for. So if I wanted it to be like a reddish lightning or a red-orange kind of lightning, then I would go and start adjusting some of these settings in here to get that effect. The glow settings, this is all the glow that's coming around it, so I can actually go in and adjust the radius so it's like, wow, that's a lot of plasma and heat coming off of it, or I tone it down. And then the opacity of the glow is how strong it is. And even the glow color itself. Once again, this is where you could actually change it, right? So it's more like a red plasma as opposed to a blue, or even different colors for it. Now the decay, the main core decay, if I actually check that, this is kind of neat. So I clicked on decay main core and watch what happens. So check this out. He starts off, he starts charging. You see that? So just think the Emperor from Return of the Jedi. Luke is down there, and the lightning grows out of his fingers, starting to hit him. But this can also be animated. But with the main core decay, it's not just affecting the forks, it's affecting the main core, and you can have it actually grow out and start hitting whatever it is you wanted. And then you can adjust under expert settings the complexity of it and the strength of the fork and all that kind of stuff. So all these are based off of what it is, you know, what's the effect that you're going for, and that's going to be kind of up to you. But start thinking about cool ways that you could actually utilize this, right? If you were going to use it. Don't just squeeze it in for no reason, you know. But if you're going to use something like that, it's pretty sweet. Okay. And that's the advanced lightning that's actually coming off of that. So definitely just something that's kind of cool that you can actually add to it.
Oh, I need help.
Whoops. Hold on.